Hello YouTube, and welcome to my channel, my little corner of the internet where I go in depth behind the scenes on how I create my artwork, what my thought process is like, the decision making I take, just so you get a sense of how I go about this. It's great when you see an amazing piece of artwork on the internet, but then you don't really understand like all the hard work that goes into it or how exactly it came about. So here's my chance to share with you. So for this piece, it features a rogue type character in a warehouse with some guards, and for this piece I really wanted to think about what my own process was like. I feel like I've gotten sloppy over the years and kind of forgotten what I'm working with. So this is a chance for me to really dive in and think about it hard as I go. So it's not just mindlessly trudging ahead, not thinking about my inefficiencies or things I can improve on. There are definitely a lot of things that came up during this, things I probably would have done differently again, but I'm pretty happy with the end result. So this character is actually based off my stepson Jareth, and Jareth, I love you, and I hope you like this, and hope you get a chance to really visualize your character in the moment about to pounce. So let me get this video started. Here I start with the character sketch. Figure drawing wise, it's pretty bad, honestly, but just gave me a sense of who the character was and what they look like. So let's see, laying in some mood colors, and then jumping in to do a thumbnail. Probably should have done this earlier in the process, but felt like I had a pretty strong sense of what I was looking for. So here we go. Yeah. All the important elements are in place, and coming in for the actual drawing, these are the final lines that I'm going to be working with here, even though I'll play with them a lot as I go. So just going back to fundamentals, back to front, large to small. It takes discipline to do the right thing, I guess. So here I'm really thinking about how the light's bouncing around the scene, thinking about what my colors are going to look like too, because it's not just the color of the object, it's what that looks like in the lighting that you have. So here I am sketching out the guards. You'll see me play around with the skills quite a bit throughout the piece. And then here is the main character. So obviously they're really important. It's important to have an interesting silhouette, as well as make sure that the entire composition kind of draws attention to that, because your art tells a story and you want all the elements to kind of support what that story is, or else you get this really muddy kind of thing that is difficult to read or understand what's going on. So here I am working with the armor and the elements. Like I don't feel like my strength yet is really in metallics and textures, and that's another thing I really want to be working on. And yeah, here I'm just kind of knocking in some pieces, and you can see me kind of work at this a little bit at a time all over. It can be important to work on your composition as a whole, so you're not focusing one tiny little area to overwork and then realize at the end that it doesn't actually work with the rest of your piece. You waste a lot of time and cause a lot of frustration that way. So here I am jumping into rendering the crates. Let me take you back here and show you what I did. So I am thinking about my process, as I said, but also like little shortcuts I can do, ways I can help speed things up a lot. So after I get the texture on this left side, what I ended up doing was copying that and pasting it and then flipping it in reverse. So you can see this. On the right side, this is a mirror of the left, but I color shift some things and I don't leave it at that. I use it as a base to keep painting other things. Probably save me at least 5 minutes, or and that adds up a lot over the course of a multi-hour illustration like this one is. So you'll get to watch this in action here. So I paint over that knot because it's a little too mirrored, Don't be afraid to play around with your blending modes too. You can get some really surprising effects like I just did there. Here we go. Yep. Back to the back crate now. most of this composition I tried to keep pretty simple, but even still, there are a lot of things for you to consider. Just a little bit of that light spilling over to those back beams. Yeah, it's subtle, but it just kind of gives that light a sense of presence throughout the entire composition. Folds are another thing. I'm still feeling like I need to master more, but I feel like this wasn't too bad of a job. So here I am adding in those details. You'll see a lot of things that were in that original character sketch. I decided to shorten the boots though. It just kind of felt like it, I guess. Sometimes you don't really need to justify things. If it feels right to you, you're the artist, it's your piece, you can make it happen. And then here you kind of see me knocking in different planes, so I'm really thinking about the different shapes and planes, like what's facing the light, what's turned away from it. You want to make sure every little thing you do supports the light source so that it all feels coherent. And that dagger on the left, I'm really happy with that shape. I think it's interesting without being too interesting, because that dagger isn't the focus. It's this character right here. Portraits. I took a portrait challenge recently, so it really made me think about how I do my faces and making sure parts and pieces are working right. This guard on the right that I'm doing now, I feel like he came together really well, and then later on you'll see me completely darken it up because it doesn't matter if I work hard on it and I like it. If it doesn't serve the composition, it's gotta go. Lighting is completely different on the guard on the right because he's turned away from the light than the guard on the left. And yes, if you're wondering, he does look like me. Just kind of wanted to insert myself in there. Happens sometimes with artists. And get to share a scene with my stepson here. Geometry of this helmet was really tricky as well. I had it way off to begin with, and you'll see me kind of drop it way down because it has to actually look like it's sitting on the top of somebody's head, which it didn't originally. Okay, another note there, these eyes are very uneven. I'll keep tweaking them throughout, but something really important to note when you're doing transforms within Photoshop or Procreate, I'm using Procreate here for 99% of it, is when you're working with a pixel raster image, it's all your pixels are aligned in grids, and when you're doing a transform and you're moving it around, that's fine, or if you're flipping it vertically or horizontally, you're not going to lose any quality, but as soon as you do a rotation on it, the program is going to have to reinterpret how those pixels line up on each other, and it's going to make it look fuzzy and out of focus, and you're likely going to have to repaint it after that, but just something to keep in mind. Don't just transform it and leave it at that unless you're doing 90-degree transforms. So here we go, back to progress here. Alright, yeah, you can see me darken that way up. So what actually happened right before this step is I showed this to an artist friend of mine, and he gave me some great feedback on kind of what I could do with this to make it better. I actually got feedback from 3 different artists. Feedback is really important to make sure you're producing the best work that you can, because you're going to miss things. You're going to, not notice how it looks, or after working on it so long, your brain gets so zeroed in on it. It's hard to take a step back and evaluate it neutrally. So it's really important to have these people in your life you can take your work to and have them make sure that it's accomplishing what you want it to. So yeah, here I am adjusting the geometry of the armor and the helmets again. Really thinking about this arm on the right of the guard And later on, you'll see me completely overhaul this as well because it just wasn't working as it was. Okay. Yeah. So much darker on that right guard. Yeah, it's really interesting to sit through this and watch it, look through time about how I went about things, what changes I made. Yeah, shifted the eyes toward the left just to make it look like there's a little more going on. Sorry, Pass Neil. All this work you're doing on that arm is going to be completely wasted. Every now and then, what you just saw there was just a quick red line sketch. I was just doing a double check to make sure things were lined correctly with my anatomy. Something I'll do periodically. If I get rendering, if something doesn't feel like it connects quite right, I'll just do like a quick overlay sketch to see how things are settling in with each other. Shifted the head over, something you can only do in digital. Alright, I'm super happy with how this torch came out in terms of the flame. So what I just did there was I took a copy of it and I put it on a new layer and changed around with the blending modes. So I can't remember exactly which one I went with, but it brought some opacity, changes how the light interacts between your layers. Now this, I'm doing a lot of kind of minute adjustments, looking for things that feel out of place that I need to fix. This is a lot of nitty-gritty that you want to avoid early on, but I'm much further along in the piece at this point, so it's kind of time to start cleaning up and thinking about my textures and just the flashy stuff, things people focus on a lot, but don't make for a successful piece quite as much. So I'm just kind of scuffing up the armor here. I don't want it looking too clean like it was before. Yeah, add that rust in. Yeah, these guards are lazy. They don't take care of their armor. Little details like that. It tells the story. And yes, here we go. Let's scoot back. Let's see. Watch it again. Alright, so here is dang it happened too fast. Okay, so at this point I ran this by another artist friend of mine, so it wasn't just one person. And thank you, Matt Wood. You gave me so much great feedback. This definitely helped push it up a notch. It wasn't completely broken before, but it definitely your recommendations definitely made a difference. So the things he was saying was a lot of my horizon lines were a lot of my perspective lines were fairly kind of flat because the horizon line was too low. What that does is it kind of calms down the energy of a piece, and when you want something with a little more tension, you're gonna raise it up or drop it down. You want to avoid too many horizontal lines, more verticals, more diagonals, just to really kind of spice things up. And he was saying too that I should probably think about dropping the figures down a little bit to leave more overhead room. One, it follows more the rule of thirds that way. Two, if this is going to be book cover type design, I'm going to need a lot more negative space to fit in the text that goes there, and that's kind of what I thought about the format of this piece being anyway, so that was some really good advice. Let's see, yeah, and that's the great thing about having digital. You can just slap a new layer on, write some notes to yourself. I'll do that a lot at the end of a session if there's some things that I want to work on, and yeah, I just want to remind myself for the next time I pick it up, what what comes next, essentially. Let's see if I can catch that little layer of note. It was so fast. Yeah, here's where I dropped it down. Okay. It's probably a little too quick, but another thing I changed was those guards I made larger, and that really changed the feeling of depth in the piece. Because before, what I had was the guards, like their faces were about the same size as the rogue, which made everything feel kind of like the planes were too close to each other. But when you push it apart by playing with that sense of scale, it really adds a sense of camera depth. And you know, look, it's a subtle change. It's not one you necessarily think about all the time or can realize in the moment. But that was another suggestion that I got, and I'm super happy that I did it. So let's keep going here. So as I've been painting over pieces, I kind of painted over some details that I'm just adding back again. Yes, paint that wood. Love the wood texture. It's so much fun to paint. You just get like a scratchy brush and just slap on a few layers and just keep going back and forth, and you know, adds a lot of life to it, you know. Okay, and since I shifted things around, I needed to fill that space again, so I'm painting it back in here. Didn't belabor this, which is something I tend to do. Definitely overwork it. This is me not doing that. Okay, here I am working on, you know, a lot of little adjustments here. You can see me. Look how much I changed that arm. Like, instead of like out here, it's more like this, and I had to do that because when I made them larger, it created less space. So here's Jareth. Hi, Jareth. Hope you like this. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and having a lot of fun sharing it too. So I'm just working on the likeness here, adding details to the hair, punching it up a bit, really increasing the contrast and the light on that face. I think it helps draw the eye a bit better. And per his requests, I gave some glasses because he wears glasses in real life, but I wanted to make them kind of more fantasy feeling rather than the modern acrylic glasses frames that he's wearing. There we go. So what you saw there as it flickered to black and white is when you're working even in full color, your range of values is really important, and with digital, it's really easy to take a copy of your layers and collapse it into one, make it black and white, and just evaluate it in black and white. Does it feel punchy? Does it feel like you have enough range of values? If it's not interesting in black and white, it's not going to be interesting in color, sad to say. So you need to think about like, oh, well, I need to increase my spotlights here. I need to make the shadows darker, or, you know, the pattern of lights and darks isn't interesting enough. You know, when you get that alternation, it creates a sense of energy throughout your whole piece. It's difficult to explain, but as you're working, just try dropping in black and white and see how it looks to you. Trust your instincts. I know this looks a little grainy. It's doesn't look like that with the actual file I'm working with, but just because the video I zoomed in real close to show you what I'm working with. I realized the arms weren't quite right. Like the right arm was too long, left arm was too short, so I just made some adjustments to kind of get them aligned correctly again, or get the proportions right. That's what I meant. Yeah, so here I'm drawing little red circles I'm coming to the end of a painting session, and just to remind myself what I need to work on next. So more adjustments to that arm. I want to get the flame kind of crossing through the line of the crate, just to create a little more sense of depth and overlap. Okay, here we go. Getting down to final details at this stage, so it's done with my major adjustments, just kind of making it look as pretty and tight as I can. So I rethought those buckles. Alright, there you have it. Thank you so much for stopping by and kind of going on this journey with me. I feel like I learned a lot, so at the end of it, I'm really going to think about some of those inefficiencies that I mentioned, and things I can work on, things I can get better at, things like textures and folds and cloth, and make myself as competent an artist as I possibly can. So I hope you enjoyed this. You can come view the full original on my website, neilc.com, link in the description. And yeah, I'll have this piece up for sale as a print too if you'd like to buy it. And if you'd like to commission me for book covers or character art or spot illustrations for your magazine or other illustrations for your game, then hit me up. See what we can work out. I'm happy to pitch in and make your project look as good as possible. So again, thanks guys. I really appreciate you stopping by. Bye.